Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. Welcome to the County Council session for June 16. We have two proclamations today. The first one is a proclamation recognizing World Refugee Day by Councilmember Stewart. If you're here for that proclamation, please come forward.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today as folks come down. I'm glad that we are here to recognize World Refugee Day, and since everyone won't get the opportunity to speak and we have some incredible leaders here in our community, I just thought we would go around, and if you just want to say your name and introduce yourself, that would be good. Okay? Just say nombre.
Veronica Carreto. Veronica Carreto. Elsa Vargas.
Alexa Chimbergo.
Claudia Sacramento.
Amy Huang Rona.
Laura Osuri, and we're with Homes Stop Borders.
Mark Smith.
Thank you. Amira Kamara, Asylum Works.
Joan Hodges-Wu, Asylum Works.
Good morning. I'm Julian Labiche with the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center.
Luisa Cardona with the Office of the County Executive.
Katie Kennan with the Department of Health and Human Services.
Carrie Brody with Emma's Torch.
Bridget Nicholson, Emma's Torch.
Thank you all. I just wanted, as we are recognizing World Refugee Day, wanted to make sure we'll have some folks speak that you got to hear from everyone here who makes our community so special. And World Refugee Day is honored on June 20th. This year, the United Nations is emphasizing the promise of safety until everyone is safe. And at a time when we see at our federal government that is unfortunately trying to divide our communities and spread hate, we need to make sure we're coming together here in Montgomery County. And we will continue to stand with our refugee community, our neighbors in love and respect. And today is a day that we need to remember what it is like to come to this country when you will have to flee your home, when you are looking at building a new home, a new community, learning a new language, learning a new job, and doing all of that under a great deal of emotional stress and trauma from having to flee your home country. And we are so fortunate here in Montgomery County to have a county government who we'll hear from, as well as many nonprofits who work with our refugee community to make sure that they can call here home and that it feels like a home. And so with that, the first person we are going to hear from is Amira Kamara, a therapeutic case manager with Asylum Works. Amira?
Thank you so much, Council Member. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amira Kamara, and I am honored to be here today as we recognize World Refugee Day. Can you all hear me? Okay. This day is deeply personal to me because I am a refugee. Like many refugees, I left my home country of Sierra Leone and came to the United States in search of safety and a new beginning. When I arrived, everything was unfamiliar to me. I spoke limited English, had every few resources, and faced many challenges trying to rebuild my life while caring for my son. One of the hardest moments I remembered was arriving at a shelter with my 2-year-old son with 2 suitcases, only to find out there was no space available. I felt afraid, overwhelmed, and uncertain about what the future would look like for me. There was many moments when I wondered how I would ever find stability and create a better life for my family. But being a refugee is not only about hardship, it is also about resilience, determination, and hope. My journey with Asylum Works began in 2019 when I became a client. At the time, I was living in a shelter and working to build a foundation for my future. With the support of my clinical case manager at Asylum Works, I set goals related to housing, education, employment, and mental health. Together, we work step by step to achieve them. When I faced setback with my immigration case, Asylum Works was right there to support me. It provided half of the legal fees for me, and I was granted asylum with my son in 2023. My case manager then reached out to me via email and introduced a new program that Asylum Works started to train clients to become clinical case managers. I enrolled in the fellowship program. After completing the 1 year, I was fully employed as a clinical case manager at Asylum Works. Asylum Works have continued to support me and encourage me to be a better person in life. Today, I have the privilege of serving refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants who are navigating many of the same challenges I once faced. What makes this journey so meaningful is that I have gone from receiving services to helping provide them in my community. Thank you. I am also continuing my education and currently pursuing my Bachelor of Social Work degree at the Catholic University of America. I am very grateful for every opportunity that has allowed me to grow both personally and professionally. My story is proof of what can happen when refugees are given the support and opportunities they need to succeed. When we invest in newcomers, we are not only simply helping individuals, we are strengthening families, communities, and our society as a whole. On this World Refugee Day, I encourage all of us to continue creating opportunities for refugees and immigrants through education, employment, mentorship, and community support. Every opportunity has the power to change a life. My life has been changed. My family life has been changed. The community where I live today is going to change, and that will continue. Together, Thank you so much, Council Member Stewart, and everyone here today for encouraging and recognizing and also celebrating the contributions of refugees. Together, let us continue building communities where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amira, for sharing your story and then sharing so much of yourself with our community, and to Asylum Works for all their work. Next, we're going to hear from Amy Wong Rona, the Development Director with Homes Not Borders. And Amy's going to talk about Homes Not Borders actually started, I think, in Tacoma Park, right? A number of years ago. And I just found out today that they're coming back to my district. And I'm very excited because they outgrew their space in Tacoma Park. But when we think about people who need to start from scratch and build a new home, what that's like and what we can do here in our community to make sure that it's not just a house or an apartment, but truly a home. That is the work Homes Not Borders does. So I'll turn it over to Amy.
When we left Vietnam in April 1975, my parents didn't know but suspected that they would never see their family, their friends, or the place that they were born ever again. And that's the bravery of being a refugee, fleeing, knowing that you would never see your homeland again. And I think of them every day when I come to work at Homes Not Borders. And that's how I serve my clients, and that's how I get meaning from my work. But today, especially with everybody in the audience here for also the Juneteenth proclamation, I think about, I asked my executive director, Laura Osuri, once, like, why you don't have a refugee background. I know why I come to work every day, and it's because of allyship. And that's what makes our country a great one, because we come together, because I recognize that my family came here willingly through threat of war. So many people in this room today, their families came by force hundreds of years ago. And we recognize that and celebrate that too. And I also recognize Councilmember Stewart and the Montgomery County Council for being allies to all of us and to build a Montgomery County that is inclusive, that welcomes the stranger, that gives us opportunities. We had an ecosystem, my family did, when we were here. When we came here, they taught my father how to fix vending machines, which is how he supported us for the rest of his life. They taught my mother English so that she could get around. I got Pell Grants so that I could go to college. And I am so appreciative of the generosity and allyship of the American people of Montgomery County for helping refugees, and for all of us for coming together to build the community in the vision that we want to build. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amy. And now we'll hear from Carrie Brody, the founder and director of Emma's Torch, which just opened last week. And we are so excited to welcome them to Montgomery County and to downtown Silver Spring.
Thank you, Councilmember Stewart and Montgomery County Council, for bringing us together in honor of World Refugee Day. This year's theme, Until Everyone is Safe, reminds us that safety is about more than escaping danger. It's about having the opportunity to belong, to contribute, and to build a future with dignity. Every refugee story begins with courage. People leave behind homes, careers, communities, and loved ones in search for that safety and a chance to rebuild. And when they arrive, they bring with them extraordinary resilience, talent, and determination. At Emma's Torch, we have the privilege of seeing that resilience every day. We work alongside refugees, asylees, and survivors of human trafficking, providing culinary training and workforce development that helps build meaningful careers and achieve financial independence. Since our founding, hundreds of students from more than 75 countries have come through our program, creating stronger futures for themselves, their families, and their communities. But inclusion is not the work of only one organization. It belongs to every single one of us in every moment of our days. It happens when employers open their doors, when communities choose curiosity over fear, and when we recognize that newcomers are not a burden to be managed, but a gift to be cherished and embraced and uplifted. Our vision is a world where refugee resettlement is seen as a public good and a driver of thriving communities and economies. This World Refugee Day, let us recommit ourselves to building that world, a world where every person is welcomed, where every family has the chance to flourish, and where everyone can truly be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. And now we have Katie from our Department of Health and Human Services, our last speaker, but definitely not our least, because our county government does so much. And I know our county executive's here, and he was here for the Juneteenth proclamation, but if you want to come down for this one, county executive, we would also welcome you, because he has been a great leader in this space, and just want to thank our Gilchrist Center and our Department of Health and Human Services. So I'll turn it over to Katie.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm here, as Councilmember Stewart mentioned, to represent the Department of Health and Human Services for the county. And specifically, I'm coming from our Lighthouse program. The Lighthouse program is a relatively new program in the county, but it really aims to provide critical supportive services to immigrants and refugees in our community, including navigating systems, accessing critical services, and most importantly, promoting safety and stabilization. And I'm truly honored, first of all, to hear the amazing stories from our colleagues here today, and also honored to be able to share a few words in honor of this year's World Refugee Day. As you've all heard, the UN theme this year is focused on promise and safety for all. And this day invites us to pause and honor the courage, resilience, and strength of all those who have been forced to flee their homes in search of safety. It also calls us to recognize the vital role we all play in creating a welcoming environment where refugees and immigrants can heal, rebuild, and contribute to our community. And so through our programming here in the county and our service delivery, combined with the incredible dedication of all of our community providers here, we strive every day to promote that safety and stability for our refugee and immigrant neighbors. And this dedication and strengthens our community and really reflects our shared commitment to ensuring that all people, regardless of where they come from, deserve to be treated with dignity, deserve to be safe, and deserve to have a chance to thrive. And we all know global displacement certainly continues to rise across the world, and with that, so does our responsibility collectively to ensure that our refugee neighbors continue to be welcomed in our communities and have access to safe housing, consistent support, and opportunities to build stable futures. So by retaining this commitment to our shared values and continuing to leverage the strength of these incredible partnerships we have here in Montgomery County, we can continue to respond swiftly to the urgent needs that arise every day, and also at the same time invest in long-term solutions that promote that safety, stability, and belonging. So I encourage us all to keep that in mind as we move forward today, that we uphold not only our commitment to welcoming refugees and immigrants, but uplifting them as valued neighbors and contributors to our shared future here in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, and I will quickly read the proclamation. Whereas on December 4th, 2000, the United Nations General Assembly passed Resolution 5576 to observe World Refugee Day starting June 2001, with the first commemoration being the 50th anniversary of the 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees. And whereas this year, the United Nations Refugee Agency, formerly known as the Office of the High Commission for Refugees, focuses World Refugee Day on the right to seek safety for all. We must stand strong with people fleeing their homes and keep the commitment to safety and protection. And whereas World Refugee Day honors the strength and courage of refugees and encourages public awareness and support of the refugees who have to flee their homelands because of conflict, violence, persecution, or natural disaster. And whereas World Refugee Day shines a light on the rights, needs, and dreams of refugees, helping to mobilize political will and resources so refugees can not only survive, but also thrive, as it is important to protect and improve the lives of refugees every single day. And whereas Montgomery County stands as a welcoming and inclusive community that acknowledges the social, cultural, religious, and economic contributions refugees make to our community, and whereas on this day we recognize the people of all ages who are forced to leave their native home, community, and possessions, fleeing to Montgomery County in search of safety and prosperity. Now therefore be it resolved that the County Council, Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby recognizes June 20th, 2026 as World Refugee Day in Montgomery County, and recognizes the contributions of all those who help to give refugees more hope and more opportunities while they are away from their native homes.
Thank you very much to everyone who came for the World Refugee Day proclamation. We're gonna now move forward to our second powerful proclamation of the day, and it's a proclamation recognizing Juneteenth by Council Members Yowondo, Evans, and Sales with the County Executive. If you're here for this proclamation, please come forward.
I'm turning to you. I'm supposed to do two. Wait, you have one? Yeah, we have. I have. Yeah, take that. Good morning. Good morning. Come on down. Yeah, come on down behind us. Yep. Hello. Ready? All right. Slide in behind. Come on, come on. I know everyone's full of breakfast. Come on down. Yeah. Yes, you. All right. Keep sliding. Good morning, everyone. Happy Juneteenth. Director Stowe, we're going to wait for you. All right. Powerful. I'm so glad you can join us if you'd like. I'm so glad that these proclamations were together today. Keep sliding. There's room back there. Shh. All right. Shh. Okay. So June 19th, 1865. It's the day that America's last enslaved community received the news of their freedom. I've remarked previously in previous years since we've been celebrating Juneteenth, I know deep in my soul that those folks on that plantation in Texas had heard that freedom had come, but they dared not leave until the Union Army came to enforce that freedom. And it was 2.5 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. But really, and this is the first time this has come to me in this way, it was really 2.5 centuries late. Not 2.5 years, because 1619 to 1865 is 246 years of formerly enslaved people in this country. We've been an enslaved nation longer than we've been a free nation. And we all know that when freedom did come that day, it wasn't fully free. It led to 100 years of sharecropping and dispossession and redlining and slavery by another name and incarceration, which is an exception to the 13th Amendment. Slavery is not okay except to incarcerate. And here we sit in Maryland, where black men like me make up 14% of the state, but 73% of those incarcerated. One of the worst in the nation, our state. So we remember Juneteenth because it is a celebration. It's a celebration of our resilience, of the true meaning of America, striving for the ideal of freedom for all people, whether they've come here willingly or not, recently or hundreds of years ago. That is what America is supposed to mean for everybody. And we're still in the fight. Right now, we're seeing Voting Rights Act 60 years ago of 1965 be eviscerated, a reaction to the incarceration and disenfranchisement of black people and others being rolled back. So we are still in this fight for freedom, but still we rise. The fact that we have more Juneteenth celebrations in Montgomery County than any other neighboring jurisdiction is a testament to that. So I'm just so thankful to serve in a state and a county where we value our more than 200,000 black Americans who live in Montgomery County, and we value every other resident in this county, and we celebrate and tell our history and we set up structures and systems and funding. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But we strive to be better, and that's what Juneteenth is about. So as I give my last one in this format from this council, I am just thankful that we have done this. And before I cry, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Sales and Councilmember Evans. I mentioned this downstairs at the breakfast. This is also a unique moment. It's the first time in Montgomery County history that we've had 3 African Americans serve on the council at the same time. And very proud of that fact. So, Councilmember Sales.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and happy Juneteenth Eve. We're going to celebrate all month long over the weekend. I had the privilege of attending the Kensington Juneteenth event. This week, we will be in Potomac and Cabin John, and then that's on Friday, so put it on your calendars. And then on Saturday, we'll be at Black Rock. So just a few events. And so I just want to thank everyone for coming out, and thank you to my colleagues for joining in this important observance. We celebrated 250 years of the country's founding. Earlier this year, we celebrated 100th anniversary of Black history in this country. And so to see how far we've come and to see how far we still have to go, it is so significant that we're celebrating today. We found Juneteenth under one Republican president, and now we are under occupation by another Republican president. You would think that 250 years later, and you know, as Juneteenth we're observing this, that we would be celebrating more than just the release of African Americans from those plantations, that we would have more achievements and more to be proud of. But that's being erased in our museums and in our communities and in our country by who should be the most important figure in the world. I love America, but there are times that I'm very disappointed in this country that's called the home of the brave, home of the free, welcoming everyone to our shores, and how we treat people who look different from us, who talk different from us, how we criminalize them, and how we are going after the others in our community. On this Juneteenth, a week away from Election Day, our ancestors are depending on us, our young people are counting on us, and we have a responsibility to keep pushing forward because there's too much more that we have left to do. And so happy Juneteenth, and I look forward to reading the proclamation and welcoming everyone here. Councilmember Evans.
Thank you. It's so good to see everyone. Happy Juneteenth, even though it's not actually the day, but I want to say that. It feels so powerful to be in this room with community members that not only love Montgomery County, but just they're always willing to serve. So as I think about Juneteenth, it's not just a moment in time, but it's really about the ongoing work that we have to do within our communities to continue building community, to make certain that freedom and dignity is the experience of everyone. Juneteenth is a reminder for me that progress is not automatic. It is not automatic. And so what it requires is that we all continue to expand opportunities, to remove barriers, and to ensure that the promises of our democracy are experienced by everyone, not just some, but all. And so for the Black community, I'll say that this day is also about honoring our perseverance and achievements. And then what I would ask of everyone is that we all play the role in ensuring that future generations are able to move forward, and that the sacrifices that were made, that they were not made in vain. And so I said it, thank you. I said it downstairs. It takes all of us. We can't just do this by ourselves. It takes our entire community. And I just came from Ohio, so I feel good being back in Maryland, knowing that we are such a diverse community, rich in all things. And it's just so good to see everyone. And I'm grateful to the council for continuing to honor this day. So thank you.
So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to see the way the Juneteenth celebrations have evolved, because if you went only back 5 or 6 years, not counting COVID, I was at events where you could count the number of people at an event on maybe the two hands of two people. And that's not very many people. So these events now are large. They fill rooms, and they're all across the county, and they're done in a significant way. So that's really important. We are cursed as a country to not know our history. And I'll go back to the Emancipation Proclamation. How many people realize that if the South hadn't decided to keep fighting, slavery would have been continued in the South? Because it was not an absolute proclamation that I'm freeing the slaves. It was like, you have 6 months to come back to the Union. And if you come back, we don't get rid of slavery. So that's the great emancipator. Nice name, but that wasn't exactly his intention. The Civil War was not about ending slavery. It was about Union domination and free labor domination, which is not a bad thing over the Southern system, but it was nothing to do with the slaves. It was Northern industrialists who thought this was important. It is hard not to know, and I know very few people know this, that the federal government sent troops to the South until 1877. They tried to implement a biracial democracy in the South. And they had elections, and they sent federal troops there to ensure that new democratic institutions could thrive. And this was a product of what used to be called the radical Republicans. I only wish. Using the word radical for them today is wrong. It's reactionary, not radical. And in 1877, when a presidential election was in play, the radical Republicans and the Republican Party swapped the election of a Republican president for the ending of the occupation of the South. And when the occupation of the South ended, it reverted. It was, it was the Klan, it was other rogue groups of white inhabitants who overthrew the elected governments in the South and displaced the elected governments in the South and reinstituted everything they had before except formal slavery. And they bound people to the land with debt peonage. If you know what debt peonage is, you can't leave the land until you're out of debt to the person who owns the land. And when I was teaching school, I would tell my kids, you're going to hear about emancipation. I want you to ask yourself what happened the day after. Because if you were a slave, where were you going to sleep that night? You're going to sleep on the master's property. And you're going to have to pay for it. When you woke up in the morning, you're going to be hungry. You're going to have to eat. You're going to eat what the master feeds you, and you're going to pay for it. And then you're going to need to get a job. You're not like you get on a car or a train or a bus and go someplace and find work somewhere else. You were on a plantation in a rural place. So you're going to work for the same person who enslaved you, and he's going to pay you enough to make sure you never make enough money to get out of debt. And that's how we managed to perpetrate this thing until close to 1960. This is not ancient history. And in the county we're in today, if we wonder why racism lasts so long and it's so hard to make progress, we don't integrate the neighborhoods until 1967. You have racial covenants on most of the property in Montgomery County saying you can't buy or rent in Montgomery County if you're a black or a Jew. And then they threw in other ethnic groups for good measure, occasionally, not always. But black and Jews were the predominant ones. So we're in a place whose entry into a free society doesn't come but for the last 60 years. And it doesn't come in a magnificent wave where everybody recants what happened in the past. It happens, but it takes a long time to undo that damage. And that's the damage we have not undone. That's why these events are really important. We have to keep fighting back. Will and Lorianne talked about the situation in Washington, the absolute insanity of this president and the desire to roll back history, to erase history. And that's not what we should be doing. And to erase the rights that people gained. So I think it's important we stand together. It's important we commit ourselves to a fight. This is not going to be a short fight. Even if the evil disappears in a year or two, the forces behind that aren't going anywhere. It's not like they're going to put up their hands and say, we surrender, we're ready for a better world. We're going to be engaged in the struggle to not only win what we had back, but to move forward. And I just encourage everybody to commit themselves to the fact that this isn't going to end tomorrow, 6 months from now, or 2 years from now. Getting us where we need to be requires all of us to fight for the things that are right, to take stands that are sometimes uncomfortable, but do what we need to do to make this country live up to what's in the national anthem of the Pledge of Allegiance. It's really hard to say liberty and justice for all. It was hard for me to say it when I was a kid growing up. It's hard for me to say it now because it's just not true. And we have to make it true. We need to be able to say words that when you say them, they mean something. You can look at it and you say, yeah, that's who we are. We need to become that thing we keep saying we aspire to be. So let's do the work. Let's move where we need to move, and let's keep fighting. And let's keep working together and having good parties, because that also tempers everything. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much to my colleagues and to County Executive. We're going to hear from a couple of our great leaders. First, Letitia Gasaway Paul of the Scotland community, one of our great Juneteenth celebrations.
Good morning. Good morning. Again, my name is Letitia Gasaway Paul, and on behalf of Teresa Gasaway Gleaton, Latrice Gasaway Johnson, the Scotland Naomi Zion Church, and the Scotland community, I am honored to get us excited about Juneteenth. Amen. Because Juneteenth is Freedom Day, and freedom didn't arrive wrapped in comfort. It came through chains breaking and backs bending, through voices trembling but still speaking anyway, through feet marching on dusty roads and blood-stained bridges, through mothers praying, fathers fighting, and children daring to believe in a tomorrow they had never seen. The price of freedom was paid on auction blocks, in cotton fields and on battlefields, paid by people who stood tall when the world tried to break them, who carried freedom forward even when they could barely carry themselves. So on this Juneteenth, let us remember. Let us stand on the word that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. On this Juneteenth, let us celebrate the progress we have made and honor those who sacrificed it all so that we could breathe free, dream boldly, and live with dignity and purpose. On June 19th at 9 a.m., join us at the Family Carnival at Kevin John Regional Park as we honor our history, embrace our culture, and celebrate the spirit of freedom. We are honored to welcome Governor Westmore, members of the Montgomery County Council, and community leaders across the region as we come together in spirit of unity, resilience, and community. Please go to JuneteenthScotland.org if you haven't already done so, and the Gasaway sisters will see you there. Amen.
Be there or be square. Frederick Hawkins, beat that, our African American liaison. One minute.
Now, who put me on after Letitia? Yeah, we got to have a meeting after this. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Frederick Hawkins. I'm the African American Community Liaison for Montgomery County via the Office of Community Partnerships and the County Executive's Office. Thank you, Councilmember Will Jawando, Lorianne Sales, Shebra Evans. I've been celebrating Juneteenth for a very long time. I want to say Juneteenth is a very meaningful holiday. It is very complex, right? So many of us, we celebrate in parks. We've been celebrating on small streets, small block parties for years, right? But we carried this tradition into a national holiday. And that's a lot of power in that. I hope that serves as an example of things we can do moving forward. But Juneteenth is more than a celebration. We're going to have fun, but it's way more than that, right? Now, celebration, love, joy, it is required for change, right? There's always space for joy in the movement, right? But two things. One, Juneteenth is a sacred reminder, right? When the enslaved people of Texas found out that they were free 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, it revealed a painful truth that is very relevant today. And that is systems and ideologies that deny your humanity will, in fact, delay your freedom as long as they can. That's a fact. And again, it's still very relevant today. 2, Juneteenth reminds us of something very powerful, and you see it up here, and you'll see it out there, you'll see it this weekend, right? That memory and community is resistance. That memory and community is survival, right? When you remember who you are, where you came from, what you've been through, and what you can do, it creates a legacy that is unbreakable, right? So our memory, our community, it outlives injustice. So let's keep the fight. Let's keep doing the work. The memory, right? It creates meaning. It keeps the meaning alive. The meaning creates the purpose, the action, a better tomorrow. And I promise you we're going to get there. Thank you for this opportunity. Peace.
Good job. Last but not least, the Reverend Jim Stowe.
First of all, we would ask the ushers to bring down the plates. And let's collect an offering. After that, we've been fed. Good morning. We are so pleased to have here with us today, standing behind me, so many wonderful people from throughout this community. We have also staff of the Office of Human Rights who are here. We've got the Commission on Human Rights here with us as well, the Committee Against Hate Violence and Remembrance and Reconciliation Commission here as well, all representing in the work being done at the Office of Human Rights. So I want to salute them and thank them for their support and ongoing work. That's a good backup music. Let's keep that going. Keep that going. I just want to share this with you. As I think about Juneteenth, I think about, again, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And what he said was, as long as the mind is enslaved, the body will never, ever be free. So Juneteenth, I'm talking to my colleagues, my brothers and sisters, is an opportunity also for us to become unenslaved in our minds. Freedom has to start there. And so as we begin to map our way through this process of Juneteenth, let us think about that first. So when we celebrate, let's remember on that day, June 19th of 1865, there was not an announcement of the proclamation. General Order Number 3 with General Granger. These were posted throughout the community. Now, how many of you know how many slaves could read? So they had to depend upon the slave owners to share with them what the proclamation said, and notwithstanding what they may have heard by and by. So what was the trust level of what they heard? And so there were those who did not move at all when they heard this great news. Not only disbelieve it, they were enslaved in their minds that this is where I'm to be. This is my future. And many accepted that. But thank God there were those who remembered the thundering herd of wildebeest, the long shorelines of the continent of Africa, the never-ending sky, the blueness that was there that you could just imagine. There was enough of them that realized that there is a tomorrow. There is something that we can do about our current state of affairs. And so I pay tribute to those persons who brought along those who could not yet believe because they were there. But they were trying their best to have them to know then that when they sang "Steal Away," there was an opportunity to steal away. And so Juneteenth is coming. And so to all of the community out there, every mind must know the lesson for itself. It must go over the whole ground. What it does not see, what it does not learn, it cannot know. And so to all of you, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said in this, I think, very timely piece that I just quoted, you have an opportunity that when you go to a Juneteenth event, be involved in all the exciting things going on, the food and the music and the entertainment, but also dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Understand the symbolism behind the drums as they echo back in the background. Know the journey that many of them took to get to where we are today. Understand the accomplishments that happened after time and time again, and standing on the shoulders of those whose names we will never ever know and never ever cite. But they were there. And so to my greater Montgomery County community, find a place somewhere, whether it's going to be at Cabin John, it may have already been at Kensington, maybe some other place in this community, and of course Black Rock's Center for the Arts. Find a place to get engaged. It is not a black event, it is all of our events. We celebrate the fact that freedom can exist and can live, and even though its promise has yet to be fulfilled. You remember that 20 acres and a mule? That was a promise. That was a U.S. policy. That was not just a statement we made. That was a U.S. policy after the ending of the Civil War. So we have unfulfilled promises. But one of the days is simply this: never ever give up. So I'm saying right now, with the theme for this particular year, push back, 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 push back. The fight is not over.
Push back. All right, we're going to read this proclamation so we can get to pushing. I want to recognize just two people who are here. Former Councilmember Cherie Branson, who is here, and Delegate Greg Wims, who is here as well. All right, we're going to read this, and you guys have it. Here we go. Whereas, on June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and issued General Order No. 3, declaring, quote, all slaves are free, with, quote, an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property. And on that day, more than 250,000 enslaved black Texans heard the promise that they had always been and would forever be free. A promise that the 13th Amendment would make law of the land 6 months later, and
whereas the freedom announced that day was beginning, not an ending. What followed was not the citizenship promised in the founding documents, but black codes and convict leasing, the long shadow of Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, and the grinding work of fighting for what was already owed. Through all of it, black Americans did not break, but built the labor and civil rights movement, contributed to the arts and music, and the world imitates and taught a nation how to feel, and demonstrated the moral path forward to justice and
whereas here in Montgomery County, that legacy lives in more than 200,000 black residents in the historic black communities, some of which were free black settlements before the Civil War, in the African and Caribbean diaspora, who are the newest chapter of an old story. and in the educators, faith leaders, artists, and young people writing the next paragraph of Black and American history right now. And
whereas to celebrate Juneteenth in 2026, the 161st anniversary of General Order Number 3, and the 250th anniversary of the United States, we insist that there is no American history without Black history.
Amen.
No American freedom without Black freedom. And no American future that does not honor those who paid the price for the word freedom to mean what it says.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mark Elrich, as county executive, and the entire county council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth in Montgomery County, and call on every resident to spend this day not only in celebration, but in reflection, to learn the history that we were not always taught, to honor the ancestors who endured what we cannot imagine, so that we can stand where we stand right now. Presented on this day, the 16th of June in the year 2026. Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. What a powerful proclamations we had this morning. Thank you to everyone who came. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we're going to move forward with our council session. And next for the agenda, we have general business. There are no announcements today. So we're going to move forward to approve the minutes for May 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of 2026 council sessions. They have been circulated to colleagues. Are there any objections to approving these minutes? Seeing none, these minutes are approved. Moving on to our legislative session. This is day 16. Item number 1 is introduction of bills. First bill is 27-26, motor vehicles and traffic, unlawful racing and street takeovers prohibited. The lead sponsor is Councilmember Andrew Friedson. A public hearing is scheduled for July 14, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. I'm going to call on the lead sponsor.
Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate colleagues and appreciate all the work that has gone into this. This is a public safety and a quality of life issue. We've seen an alarming increase in street takeovers where vehicles and people block entire intersections to perform donuts, to drag race, and to take on other extremely reckless and unsafe activities. It is an affront to our public safety and it harms our quality of life. In a video that many have seen from last February, the crowd on Connecticut Avenue became violent, damaged police vehicles, threatening the safety of our officers and of local residents. Without sufficient tools, it's difficult for our police department to address these dangerous and destructive acts. This bill that we're introducing today will provide the police with the ability to address not just those that are doing the exhibition, but would also address those that aid and abet the drivers. It prohibits engaging, participating, aiding, and promoting unlawful race, speed contests, street takeovers, exhibition driving events, or stunt driving events, making them punishable as a Class A violation. This is a new local standard, and it is something that our police officers need as a tool to prevent these activities from happening. They're oftentimes promoted through social media as broad-based efforts, and we want to make sure that we are able to have tools to go after not just the people who are driving the cars recklessly, but the people who are putting together the events that are creating unsafe environments for our residents and for our officers. Residents deserve to feel safe on our roads and in their neighborhoods. This bill gives our law enforcement the clarity and authority needed to intervene earlier in the process to disrupt these coordinated events before they happen and to keep people out of harm's way. Street takeovers endanger everyone involved, the drivers, the spectators, our community members, and our officers, and we must ensure that we provide strong modern tools to address this growing threat. I want to thank Police Chief Mark Yamada and the Montgomery County Police Department for their support of the bill and their help in putting it together. Our amazing council staff, the state's attorney, John McCarthy, who also helped for us to understand how to move this forward, for their support of his office as well. And I hope that colleagues will join in supporting this bill to protect our public safety and our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I turn it to colleagues, does staff have anything else to add? Seeing none, Councilmember Marilyn Balcom.
Yes, I'd like to be added to the bill and appreciate the importance of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Sidney Katz.
Thank you, Madam President. I also thank the lead sponsor and would like to be listed as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Donald Lukey.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate the lead sponsor's efforts. I'd love to be added as a co-sponsor and really do firmly believe we need better tools on the prevention side, the disruption side, and the penalty phase for this type of conduct. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, this bill is introduced. We're going to move on to the next bill for introduction is Bill 28-26, Health and Sanitation, Intellectual and Development Disabilities Commission, Membership, Appointment, Terms, Amendments. The lead sponsors are Council Members Lutke and Evans. I am a co-sponsor, so thank you so much for doing all the work. A public hearing is scheduled for July 14, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. I'm going to turn it to the leads in case they want to show some remarks before I turn it to staff. I'm going to start with Councilmember Lutke.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I do want to say that we had intended, and it did not make it into the packet, but to name the bill in honor of Jake Dudinsky. So I'd love to be able to amend to call this the Jake Dudinsky Advocacy Act. And for those, many of you here all know Jake. He was one of the two founding members of the IDDC who has had a developmental disability and was a strong and passionate advocate for placing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities at the center of the decision making rather than on the fringes. And he was a strong voice, a friendly face, and we miss him. So the purpose of this bill is to update the membership of the commission itself to align with best practices to ensure the equitable, meaningful representation of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So the new structure embeds lived experience at the center of decision making, reflecting a model used successfully for more than 50 years by the state's developmental disabilities councils, established under the Federal Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act. So it increases from 2 to 5 the number of serving commissioners with intellectual or developmental disabilities, decreases from 9 to 5 the number of commissioners who are parents or guardians of children with IDD or guardians of immediate relatives of adults with IDD who cannot advocate for themselves, specifies that at least 3 members must participate in self-directed services. So I am happy to be bringing this bill forward. I also want to thank Rachel London, who is the Executive Director of the State Developmental Disabilities Council, for her ongoing counsel and support of me, in particular, in making sure we get the wording right and we make it correct. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Sure. I just wanted to go on record saying that I was happy to co-lead on the changes of this bill. I know that Councilmember Albornoz had done some fine work initially, and I know the entire council supported this legislation back in 2023. And I think that any time that we can make changes to help individuals or families better navigate the systems and supports that we provide, I think is necessary and I think is great. And so I just wanted to just kind of speak up just for a moment in talking about the additions that have been made that I support.
Excellent. Is there anything else that needs to be added before I turn it to colleagues?
Yeah, I might just clarify one quick thing, that the movement within the bill, in addition to increasing from 2 to 5 the individual membership of individuals with IDD, reducing from 9 to 5 those who are parents or guardians or something, there's also a third group added, which is 5 members who come from either of those 2 groups.
I remember that. Thank you so much. This is why you're so efficient. Okay, so I'm going to start with Council Vice President Marilyn Belcom.
Thank you. I'd like to be added to the bill, and I think that more representation from the groups, from the individuals who are most impacted, really makes a lot of sense. I appreciate the co-leads.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrew Friedson.
Thank you. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Really appreciate the work of Councilmember Lukey on this. Want to give a shout out also to former Councilmember Albornoz, who worked a lot on the IDD Commission. I worked closely with him on that, as did many of us, and agree that having as many people with lived experience on these types of commissions is really important. I think this is a really positive step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Kate Stewart.
Yes, I'd also like to be added as a co-sponsor and thank the leads on this bill. Thank you.
Councilmember Lorian Sells.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you to the co-leads and co-sponsors. I too would like to be added as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sidney Katz.
Thank you, Madam President. I too thank the lead sponsors, and please list me as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Kristen Mink.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Councilmember Wojo-Wanda.
Thank you. I'd also like to be added. Thank you.
I think that's okay. Oh, thank you so much. Again, the public hearing is scheduled for July 14th. This bill is introduced. We're going to move on to the next bill, and it's Expedited Bill 29-26, Personnel and Human Resources Eligibility for County Employment, Community Trust in County Employees Act. The lead sponsor is Councilmember Mink. A public hearing is scheduled for July 14, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. I'm going to start and turn it to the lead sponsor.
Thank you, Madam President. As we've said many times, it is incumbent upon us as leaders in this moment to take bold and strategic steps to fight back against the harms this federal government is inflicting on our immigrant community, both directly and indirectly. And one of the impacts that many of us have seen firsthand and heard from our county partners on the ground is that there has been a decrease in immigrant families accessing our county resources. As we know, since 2025, this federal government has been routinely and pervasively enforcing civil immigration laws in a discriminatory manner and without due process. These federal practices have eroded community trust at all levels of government, including the county government. And that's a big problem for us. Community trust in the fairness and impartiality of our county employees is essential. It is essential. County offices and departments that directly serve the public, such as the Department of Health and Human Services and our public libraries, cannot fulfill their missions and responsibilities to the public without earning and maintaining the trust of the community. To that end, the Community Trust in County Employees Act would increase the trust of our community by prohibiting the county from hiring individuals who are employed by ICE or CBP after 2025, that's the same date used by the Prince George's County Council bill, and individuals from other federal agencies who were recently assigned to enforce federal immigration laws and who kept that assignment for longer than 6 months, into county positions that directly serve the public or hold decision-making powers regarding the distribution of resources. I want to note that including ICE and CBP in full is really necessary for the goal of this bill, which is to maintain that community trust. I want to thank We Are CASA and the Montgomery County Immigrant Rights Collective, MoCo IRC, for their input on and support of this bill. Thank you to Councilmember Jawando for his co-sponsorship. And thank you very much to Ms. Wellens and to the county attorney for the extensive support on this. My goal was to take as bold of action as we possibly can while working to stay on the right side of the legal lines, a goal that I know is shared across this council. And I look forward to the work and the conversations on this effort. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Is there anything else from council staff? No, seeing none, this bill is introduced. We're going to move on to Expedited Bill 30-26, Bond Authorization, Stormwater Management. The lead sponsor is the council president. At the request of the county executive, a public hearing and action is scheduled for July 21st, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. I'm going to turn it to council staff so they can briefly explain this bill.
Sure. This bill relates to the county's efforts to perform its obligations under federal and state law, specifically the MS4 permit, to perform stormwater management work. The proceeds from these bond obligations both go to pay the debt service on previous bonds. There have been 3 different iterations of stormwater management bond issuances, and as well as to perform ongoing efforts to do the work. The fiscal impact statement indicates that this sort of work has already been included in the upcoming CIP, so there's no fiscal impact. I'll note just for the record that the bond authorization under this bill is $125 million.
Thank you so much. This bill is introduced. I'm aware that we're behind, guys. I'm getting all this text message. I'm trying to catch us up. We'll be okay. Okay? Just putting that on the record. The next bill is, for introduction, is Expedited Bill 31-26, Bond Authorization, Viva White Oak Development District. I have to say with that name. I have to say it with, yeah. The lead sponsor is the council president at request of the county executive. A public hearing is scheduled for July 14, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. Is there anything else that we need to say?
I would just note that the bond authorization saw is $420 million.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I see Councilmember Lorian Sells.
It's for the next one. Sorry for that.
It's okay. This bill is introduced. Now we're gonna, the council's now sitting as a district council for the introduction of zoning text amendment 26-09, Rural Village Center Overlay Zone, Vehicle Repair, Limited Use. The lead sponsor is Council Vice President Balcom. A public hearing and action is scheduled for July 21st, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. I'm going to turn it to the lead.
Thank you.
So today I'm introducing ZTA 2609, which focuses on the Rural Village Center Overlay Zone in regards to vehicle repair. This is really a fairly simple ZTA. As it stands right now, major and minor auto repair is allowed in the Rural Village Center Overlay Zone. It's a mouthful. It's allowed as a conditional use if the underlying zone is commercial or residential. The conditional use requirement can be cumbersome for some of our small business owners, especially in areas that are lacking in basic services like our rural villages. And so this CTA will allow major and minor auto repair as a limited use. It's important to note that there is no change in the required underlying zone. It continues to be commercial or residential. There are a few other minor changes outlined in the ZTA, including changes in setback for abutting residential lot lines and allowing alternative structures for shading to protect. Right now it's tree shading is required. With an auto repair shop, that trees can cause damage to the vehicles. So we're adding alternative shading structures to the ZTA. I want to thank Ms. Nadeau for all her work to get this moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Council staff. Is there anything else to add? No. We're going to start with Councilmember Don Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just love to be added as a co-sponsor since this greatly would help in my district as well. Thank you.
Great. Next, Councilmember Lori Sells.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Vice President Balcom, for the introduction. I too would like to be added as co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This bill, the ZTA, is now introduced. Next for the Council's consideration is the consent calendar. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lori Sells, second by Council Vice President Balcom. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is approved by those who are present right now. Thank you for that. Item 4 on today's agenda is a briefing on the 2026 Charter Review Commission report. We have the chair of the commission, Mr. G. Michaels. Thank you so much for being here today. Again, this is a briefing, so I'm going to turn it to the chair to kick us off. And if you can please turn on your mic right there. There you go.
Madam President, council members, thank you for allowing me to brief you on our Charter Commission's most recent recommendation. You've all received a copy of the Commission's written statement, which is pretty brief. My remarks today are my own. I did not vet them through the Commission, did not have time, but hopefully you won't detect any distinction between what I say and what the Commission members have said. The fact that the Commission was unanimous on 2 separate issues that are presented in this statement is notable because we are a multi-partisan commission of 11, and no more than 6 members can represent any one political party, but we were unanimous without any debate or discussion. We oppose unanimously the charter amendment that is presently being circulated in a citizen's petition. We also unanimously recommend that the council propose a different charter amendment, which is one that we actually recommended initially 2 years ago. So what we're proposing is not in response to the petition that's circulating, it's something that we previously recommended. And we're aware that the council will not vote on this petition charter amendment, but we believed firmly that after studying the charter for the past 3 years on a multitude of issues, that we have a responsibility to inform both the council and the public about our recommendations on issues that most people don't ever get a chance to familiarize themselves with. The petitioner's proposed charter amendment really is relatively simple. It changes, one word in the charter, and it changes the number of votes needed from 7 votes to the votes of all 11 council members to approve a budget that includes an increase in spending that is above the inflation rate for the previous year. Now, for expenditures that have not been previously fixed by contract, I'm not sure exactly how you limit your costs to last year's inflation rate when you're actually going to have to pay the price based on next year's inflation rate, but that is not a matter the Commission addressed. The petitioners claim that by changing the number of votes needed from 7 to all 11, that alone limits spending to the inflation rate. And I do not see how that is necessarily true. It could be true, but it is not necessarily true and something that you can promise. So how do I think this would actually work? Well, let's just assume for a second that the previous year's inflation rate was 2%, which is the Federal Reserve's target. And assume the county executive submitted a budget that would merely increase spending by 3% instead of 2%, because your economic projections showed that next year's revenue could support that type of spending as affordable. Today, council could approve a budget with a 2% inflation rate increase with just 6 votes or more. Alternatively, you could pass a budget that increases spending by more than that 2% with 7 votes. But what happens if the petitioner's charter amendment is adopted? Sponsors seem to believe that unanimous approval would be so unlikely that as a practical matter, council would always be forced to hold spending to the amount spent the previous year with that 2% inflation adjustment. Or alternatively, they could hope to control just one seat on the council to guarantee somebody will exercise minority rule and use their single member veto so that the budget could never exceed the 2% inflationary increase. And this is something that has not gotten much attention, but in fact, the sponsor of this particular charter amendment has already asked the Charter Commission to recommend a second charter amendment. And that amendment that they seek would guarantee 2 non-majority party seats, 2 minority party seats probably, on the council so they can exercise that single member veto that they want to create with this charter amendment. So they not only want the single member veto, they want a guaranteed right to exercise it with guaranteed seats. If voters don't create minority seats that can veto the budget, then what happens? What would happen is that we're giving leverage to any single council member who can use that leverage to decide how much above 2% that year's increase is going to be. So there may be an increase, unlike what they're promising voters, but now we're in negotiations as to how much increase could be, and they have the single vote that determines that. They can also determine what other concessions they demand to lend their vote to make it a unanimous vote. So the risks and dangers of minority rule are evident. A requirement for a unanimous vote is a sure way to encourage holdouts, single member vetoes, gridlock, and ultimately backroom deals to break the inevitable deadlocks. After rejecting the petition's proposed charter amendment, the commission considered whether we had an alternative that would improve how the budget process and Charter Section 305 works. And we immediately came back to the amendment we recommended 2 years ago. And that's because Section 305 requires the budget to be approved by 8 votes if it's going to exceed the council's previously established affordability guidelines. And in 2024, we recommended that the 7-vote requirement for spending increases above inflation be changed to 8 votes so that they would match, so that there would be 8 votes needed both to exceed the affordability guidelines and to pass the spending increase above inflation. That vote was also unanimous when we took it last week. And so we also recommend this be written as a 2/3 rule, and that it be clear that the 2/3 rule requires 8 votes, so that 2/3 is still workable in case there happens to be a vacant seat on the council, which has happened recently. This approach, we think, would slightly broaden the support that's needed to enact spending increases above inflation, going from 7 to 8. But we think it also encourages cooperation to reach compromises, and it would allow, this is important, several of our members mentioned this, it would allow 3 members on the council to still dissent and vocalize their reasons for that dissent without obstructing the budget process in a way that the unanimous vote requirement would obstruct it. The Commission also believes this would be an opportunity to frame voters' choices on the ballot more clearly so that they can simply choose whether they think spending increases should need 7 votes to approve, 8 votes to approve, or 11 votes to approve. Without that kind of clarity, voters may simply accept the premise that the ballot amendment that the petitioners circulate just automatically limits spending to inflation. And one real quick comment, the petitioners are seeking to replace the consumer price index reference in the charter from the old reference to from the old index to the new index. The U.S. Department of Labor's Bureau of Statistics changed indexes in 2017, and so the index that's referenced in the charter is not the one that's currently used. It's an optional change. It doesn't actually have any effect because the charter was wise enough and originally to say use that index or its successor. So we are using the successor. That's legally. So the change isn't necessary. It's one that council could technically choose to make. And that concludes my remarks, and glad to take any questions.
Thank you very much to all the work by the commission and for you, Mr. Michaels, to be here with us explaining your recommendations. I just want to say a couple of things before I turn it to staff in case something else was missing. I just want to remind people that if we want to adopt a resolution to be placed on the ballot, we must do so by June 30th of this year. And the attorney, the county attorney must certify the language by July 1st. So that's something important. The second thing I do want to share is that, number one, I wholeheartedly appreciate your strong opposition to the Stop the Spend petition that is being circulated. But I personally, and I think that's my position, I strongly agree with you. But I do find it problematic and confusing to voters if we add your recommended charter amendment. I think, at least for me, my focus will be to tell folks vote no on that petition, because if you add something else, it's just very confusing, and I think we're gonna provide a disservice to community members by doing that. But that's my position. I'm going to turn it to council staff in case is there anything else that we need to discuss before I ask my colleagues to speak.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And just very quickly, as you noted, the timelines are tight here, so just wanted to emphasize that. And in terms of any petitioned amendments, the deadline for those the deadline for the petitions to be submitted to the county with all the signatures is July 27th. And then, so potentially, the council is meeting on the 28th. So potentially you will need to adopt a resolution on that day, acknowledging the petition and approving it for purposes of the county attorney then certifying language for that petition and for the Board of Elections to proceed with then counting the signatures and qualifying it for the ballot. So there's that process for the petitions that is also rather tight. And as you mentioned, for the council, if you want to put something on the ballot on your own initiative, the deadline for doing a resolution for that is June 30th. Also, just a big thank you to the Charter Review Commission for all of their thoughtful work. And also just wanted to really quickly thank council staff, Stephen Matheny, who is a paralegal specialist who helped me immensely, and helped the commission with supporting and assisting their work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those remarks. I'm going to start with Councilmember Evan Glass.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Chair Michaels, thank you for the presentation. I have attended a number of your meetings over the years and always appreciate the thoughtfulness and the collaborative spirit in which you lead the Charter Review Commission, which is actually one of the most important boards, committees, and commissions that exist. It is essentially our constitutional commission, which is what the Charter really is. And we are required to have a diverse membership made up of people from multiple political parties and no political parties. And so your leadership there has been very much appreciated. I also want to thank Ms. Wellens and council staff for their support for the commission and making sure that they have all the information and understand the legal realities and charter realities and limits to their thoughts. With all of that said, I appreciate the recommendation. I don't think this is the right time for that because, as the council president noted, I think it adds to the confusion for residents trying to get ahead of things when there's a lot to deal with. But I want to take a step back and say that we should not be in this position to begin with. Ever since I joined the council, I have been calling on the state of Maryland to change the Maryland Constitution so that we do not have this situation every 2 years, which is what we have. Every 2 years, we get new ballot initiatives from residents who are engaged and have their own thoughts, and democracy is wonderful. Democracy is wonderful, except we have a signature requirement that is more than 100 years old. According to the Maryland Constitution, ballot initiatives can get on, charter commission initiatives can get onto the ballot with either 10,000 signatures or 20% of the population's signature. And so when that was drafted 100 years ago, Montgomery County was a much, much smaller place. But we now have 1.1 million residents, and 10,000 signatures is woefully underrepresentative of our community. What I think we should go towards, and I'm appealing to our state leaders, is take up a model that is more similar to the state of California, which has its own abundance of referenda every single election. There's no shortage in California, but what they do is they have signature requirements that are tied to previous elections. In order to get a statutory initiative, a law, you need 5% signatures of the previous election's vote cast. And in order to get a constitutional amendment, which is more akin to a charter review commission, a charter amendment, you need 8% of signatures representing the last election cast. Now, our 10,000 signature requirement represents 1.5% of the previous votes cast. In November of 2024, there were 520,000 votes in Montgomery County for president. So 10,000 signatures is 1.5%. I know this is a uniquely Montgomery County issue, which is why the state has been averse to addressing it, but they need to address it. Anything that is 100 years old is in need of modernization. And I hope that in the next year and years beyond that, we can appeal to our colleagues in Annapolis to update so that it is not Groundhog Day every 2 years. But with that, thank you very much, Chair Michaels.
Thank you. Next, Councilmember Don Luque.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councilmember Glass for re-upping the work we did to try and get the state to adjust this. And, you know, I appreciate the suggestion regarding California's process. I believe just a straightforward percentage is appropriate. Because we're able to ascertain population based on the census amounts, and we can do it then. But that way, the standard is equal across the state, regardless of whether you're in Dorchester County or Garrett County or Montgomery County. It is an expression of the percentage of the total population, so that you can tell whether or not something is or is not significant. Because 10,000 signatures in Montgomery County is one thing, and 10,000 signatures in Somerset County means nothing will get done. And that's not fair for the smaller counties either. So thank you for that. And I agree with the council president that we should not move forward with any other changes today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And thank you to Chair Michaels and the entire Charter Review Commission for all your work. Thank you for your time. We're going to move on with our council agenda, but first I'm going to turn it to Councilmember Will Jawando.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you also, Mr. Michaels and team. I just wanted to be recorded as voting in the affirmative for the consent calendar. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And with that, look at that, we're back on time. So thank you. So yeah, pretty amazing, yeah. So now we have another very exciting proclamation and presentation commemorating Pride Month and by the County Council. So thank you to all of you for joining us today as we come together to recognizing Pride Month and celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community here in Montgomery County. Pride is a reminder that everyone should be empowered to be open and live our values out loud. This month is a time to celebrate who you are and to recognize that we all deserve the freedom to live authentically. You belong in our welcoming community, and we're stronger, more vibrant community because you have chosen to call Montgomery County home. This year's theme, Exist, Resist, Have the Audacity, I love that, reflects both the history of Pride and its continued importance today. We will hear in a moment from some community leaders about what Pride Month means to them, and I'm so proud that here in the Montgomery County Council, we're celebrating Pride Month for the 8th year in a row. I think that speaks highly, not just on the council, but as this county overall. We're committed to being a county where everyone is valued for who they are. Next, I want to pass it to my colleague, Councilmember Evan Glass, who has been instrumental in making this commemoration a constant celebration over the last 8 years. I thank you for your leadership, and I'm proud to serve on the council with you.
Thank you very much, Council President. I appreciate this council. I appreciate the prior council, because the reality is it was not until I was elected and became the first openly LGBTQ plus council member that we did this. And not only did we not recognize Pride as an official event and celebration, but we didn't even raise the Pride flag. And for those of you who remember, the first time we raised the Pride flag 8 years ago, it was a wonderful celebration. But then when we got back to my office, we started hearing from people who did not think it was so wonderful. People were emailing me, they were tweeting me, but it was the phone calls that were actually the worst. People were, it was bad. The worst in people was showing up, and it was my staff who simply want to fill potholes, call Pepco, get rental assistance to help people, but instead they were answering the phone and on the receiving end, listening to this nasty, vitriolic behavior. And it got so bad that we contacted Montgomery County Police Department and said, what should we do? And they said, let it go to voicemail. And so for 3 days, we let our office phones go to voicemail, because that's how much hate we received. And during that time, we regrouped and started planning for the next year's Pride events, and the next year, and the next year. And here we are celebrating the 8th annual Pride celebration at the council. A few weeks ago, we raised the Pride flag for the 8th year in a row, and we've resisted, and we've persisted, and we've continued to show love and light here in Montgomery County. And that's what we need now more than ever. Being able to push back against the haters down in Washington, D.C. and across the country, and wrapping our arms around our beautiful diversity, making sure that every resident knows that they are welcome, safe, and seen, regardless of who they love, how they identify, where they pray, or their immigration status. That's what this moment calls for. It is an honor to be a member of this council, because we love every member of our community. And so, Council President, thank you to my colleagues, thank you, and to the members of our community, thank you.
Thank you for that. Next, we're going to have an amazing video being played. And I want to thank, as she works on it, I want to thank each member of the community who's here with us today. And I know the office of Congressman Jamie Raskin is here. So thank you for being here. See you.
Pride has always been more than a celebration. It is visibility. It is resilience. It is the courage to exist fully and authentically. This year's Pride Month theme, Exist, Resist, Have the Audacity, honors those who continue to challenge barriers, create belonging, and lead with unapologetic truth. Karen Kendra Holmes, visibility has been both personal and powerful. A veteran and former Maryland Defense Force member, Karen built a career defined by service and leadership, earning recognition as Soldier of the Year while navigating her journey as a transgender woman. But for years, authenticity and acceptance did not always feel compatible. Today, Karen uses her voice and visibility to help others feel seen, especially transgender people who may still be searching for safety, belonging, and community. For Karen, simply existing openly became an act of courage. And through that visibility, she hopes younger generations understand they are not alone.
Being transgender is who we are in our mind, heart, and spirit.
Her family was supportive when she made the decision to transition, including the name she picked.
I said, Mom, my name is going to be Karen. She says, something I never told you, and she never told me this as well. When she was pregnant, she said if she had a girl, she was going to name it Karen. And I said, oh my God, I just started losing it right then, because I said, now I know truly who I am, and nobody can take that away from me now.
That commitment to visibility also inspired Karen to share her story in a new way, through writing a book.
I wrote it because I really wanted to do two things. One, help the transgender community, and on the flip side, I wanted to help the cisgender community understand who we are.
Karen's story reflects the heart of this year's Pride theme: to exist openly, to resist erasure, and to have the audacity to live authentically.
Happy Pride!
Resistance can take many forms. Sometimes it means creating spaces where young people feel seen for the very first time. As an equity specialist with Montgomery County Public Schools, Yael Bestbird Astor works to help ensure students feel valued, respected, and included for who they are.
As an equity specialist, my role is to support our schools, support our staff in creating spaces in which every child feels like they belong. They feel like they're cared for, and I would say most importantly, they feel like they can show up exactly as who they are, like they don't need to tuck any piece of themselves away, that all aspects and nuances of their identity are cared for and welcome into the learning environment. We have to resist harmful, we have to resist oppression. So I will say that for me, have the audacity is empowering, and that it reminds me that I can take up space and I should take up space. When I think of myself as a little girl, I think about what it would have meant to have seen someone that looks like me in that position, to have seen someone standing at that podium talking about pride, to have understood what it means to raise that flag, to have known that there were possibilities would have meant everything.
For Yael, creating inclusive spaces is about helping the next generation grow up knowing they belong exactly as they are.
I hope that they feel the possibility of being able to grow and thrive and not just survive.
For some, the journey towards acceptance also includes faith. A belief that identity and spirituality do not have to exist in conflict. At Christ Episcopal Church in Rockville, Father Tim Carr says, creating a community rooted in acceptance is central to the church's mission.
True inclusion is God. When you think of the purity of the divine, it's all inclusion, all the time.
Father Carr's path to the priesthood was grounded in a calling to serve others and help people feel seen, supported, and connected through faith.
Good morning, and welcome to Christ Church in Rockville.
Today, he serves as the 27th rector of the church, leading a congregation known for its commitment to inclusion and acceptance. But his own journey with faith was not always easy. As a young man, he was once forced to leave a seminary because he was gay.
Since I was 5 years old, I had been telling everyone that I wanted to be a priest. The hardest thing was telling people that I wasn't going back. And I couldn't tell them why. You couldn't say you were gay. You just could not say you were gay. And I just could not say that I was no longer called to be a priest.
Under Father Carr's leadership, Christ Church has publicly embraced its role as an affirming congregation.
We constantly have to remind people who come to this place that it's safe.
Sometimes having the audacity means leading with love. Through their stories, each of these individuals show what it means to exist openly, resist exclusion, and have the audacity to create space for others to do the same.
That was so beautiful. It was emotional, it was powerful, and I am so proud to live in Montgomery County. I also would like to recognize that we have our friends from Senator Chris Van Hollen and Congresswoman April McLean Delaney. She's also here. And obviously our allies from SCIU 500. I see the purple to my left. That's why I recognize you. I don't have my glasses on right now, but I saw the purple. I feel it was you. Thank you for being here. And also we have the Moco Prize Center. Of course, they're here as well. And many of you, honestly, that video made it for me today and being here today. Thank you. Thank you so much for all the love and the unity that we feel. With that, we're going to proceed with reading a proclamation. And once we're done with the proclamation, I'm going to ask each one of you to please come forward so we can take a photo. But let's just read it here, okay? So I'll start with, whereas June is Pride Month and 2026 marks the 8th year that Montgomery County recognizes Pride as a time to celebrate love and inclusivity. And
whereas during Pride Month, we reflect on the progress we have made in the fight for justice, inclusion, and equality, while reaffirming our commitment to do more to support the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer rights community. And
whereas we recognize trailblazers of generations before us, like Marsha P. Johnson, who protested police brutality after Stonewall, and celebrate people like her who championed the struggle for civil rights and helped pave the path towards achieving full equity. And
whereas we celebrate the accomplishments and victories of the LGBTQ plus community, such as the 13th anniversary of marriage equality in Maryland and the Federal Respect for Marriage Act, which protects same-sex and interracial marriages. And
whereas we honor the resilience and determination of the many individuals who are fighting to live freely and authentically. In doing so, they are opening hearts and minds and laying the foundation for a more just and a more equitable society. And
whereas today the rights of LGBTQ plus Americans are under relentless attack. Members of the LGBTQ plus community, especially people of color and trans and gender expansive people, continue to face discrimination and cruel, persistent efforts to undermine their human rights and to erase them. And
whereas Montgomery County reaffirms its commitment to support our non-binary and transgender and gender expansive residents, particularly Black trans women who continue to face marginalization, discrimination, and violence. And
whereas Pride is a time to recall the trials endured by the LGBTQ plus community and to rejoice in the triumphs of trailblazing individuals who have bravely fought for full equality. And
Whereas the LGBTQIA plus community and other communities within the county have organized flag raisings, parades, festivals, and many other activities to celebrate Pride Month and uplift their LGBTQIA plus neighbors. And
whereas everyone should be able to live without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, and hatred based on race, religion, gender identity, or sexual orientation, age, or disability. And
whereas the meaningful contributions made by our LGBTQIA plus community enhance our county's diverse history and culture, with the Progress Pride flag proudly raised in our Veterans Memorial Plaza outside the County Executive Office building, Montgomery County stands with LGBTQIA plus people, their loved ones, and allies locally and across the country.
Now therefore be resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby proclaims June as LGBTQAI plus Pride Month. Thank you so much for coming. If you can please join us right here, that'll be great for the photo. We are going to be in recess until 1:15. Thank you.